Hi, I'm Kevin Thomas, W1DED, and this is Q5 Ham Radio. The contest crew is back. Randy K5ZD, Chris KL9A, Dan N6MJ, and Bill W9KKN. All finally stateside after big trips for the CQ Worldwide Single Sideman contest. Randy operated from St. Kitts as V47T, a three-man multi-single that's sitting second in the world despite some serious challenges, while the rest of the crew was on Madeira at Valery's CQ9A superstation chasing what looks like a new world record. This is very much part of the CQ Worldwide Showdown series as Chris and Dan gear up for their big CW efforts at the end of November. We're grateful for the support of ICOM and DX Engineering as we continue to bring you coverage of the showdown next in CQ WWCW. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, Kevin.
Thanks for having us.
So I know there's been a lot of conversation about CQ9A, and I want to get into more of that, but I haven't really heard a lot about V47T, Randy, other than the 3830 scores. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, so you want to be loud from the Caribbean, you go to a station that's on top of a mountain. So we got down there on Sunday. The airlines did their job. The rental car gives us a supposedly four-wheel drive car, which we discover halfway up the mountain is only two-wheel drive, but we managed to make it. We realized that our 160 antenna was down, our 80-meter antenna was down, a few other small things needed work. So we come back, we get another car. We come back the next day, start fixing stuff. Takes us a day to get 80 going. Takes us a day and a half, it feels like, to get 160 going. We always waste more time on 160 for less result than any other band. That just seems to be almost a running joke now. But we did get everything working by Thursday, and we use Titan amplifiers down there, and they sit in the humidity for the whole year between times that we come. And we always seem to blow up a power supply or whatever. And this time, as soon as he turned it on and flipped the thing to high voltage, boom, there went one Titan power supply. And Andy actually had two more shipped down, so I think he has 4 or 5 of working ones down there, and so you kind of need that. So anyway, we lived through that and did the contest. Conditions were great on the high bands. The low bands were terrible. Just awful. It was really hard to get anything going on 80 and 160, but the fact the high bands were so great kind of mitigated some of that. And then on Sunday morning when I'd finished my operating stint, I went out and sat in the truck just to kind of escape the noise from the guys, and this rain shower came through. It was raining pretty hard. I fell asleep, and I wake up and I come inside, and the rotator for the 40-meter beam is just going round and round, just going nuts. Can't figure out what's going on. We come outside and look up. Somehow in this rain shower, which I don't think there was a lot of wind, but something sure happened, because one half of our 40-meter driven element fell off. In the middle of the contest, just broke off. Metal fatigue, no other way to put it. So this was Saturday morning. So we kind of diagnose that. Andy goes up and hangs a dipole, or an inverted V with the top at 40 feet. That became our 40-meter antenna for the rest of the weekend. We still could work guys, but it was not the same as having the two elements at 60 or 70 feet. And anyway, we get through the rest of the contest without too much incident. I think we blew up one more amplifier, or did one more amplifier swap. And then amazingly enough, because I had a couple of 40-meter beams left over after my move, I gave them to Andy, and he shipped them down to St. Kitts, one for V44KI and one for spares. Well, it turns out, because of that, we had everything we needed to rebuild the 40-meter driven element. So it was Monday, that was the project. We get up the hill, and we take the antenna half down and fix up the element that was broken and put it back up again. So just another routine day in the life of trying to keep a station going down there. And a big part of our reason for going is so Andy can be set up for the CW contest. So we couldn't really leave with with him only having or not having a working 40-meter antenna. So anyway, that was just a few of the highlights that went on, but we're very happy with the score that we came up. We didn't quite get to the record that we made when Chris was with us, but the bands, in a way, they were almost too good. Everybody went to 10 and then gave up on all the other bands, and that happens at the top of every sunspot cycle.
And just to be clear, the boys at CQ9A, I think, had 11 or 12 people on their multi-single, and you had, Randy, 3?
We had 3 guys, 2 radios, no in-band, just Basically, whichever guy wasn't operating got out of the way. So it was a pretty minimal operation. And we really missed the in-band stuff when 10 meters is open, because 10 meters had what seemed like 900 kilohertz worth of contest activity. We could see the spots come up, but we were running like crazy. There was no time to be able to go chase them. And even if you tried to do the thing where you hit the button to jump to the spot and call the guy and come back, two things: the pileups were too big on the guys we were calling, and then you always run the risk of losing your frequency, and you could not afford to lose a spot on 10 meters this weekend, because one time Andy did, and it just took him a while to burrow back in. So yeah, not the same in terms of number of people or sophisticated station setup.
And then we have CQ9A. Who wants to take that?
Well, to follow up on Randy's, it's interesting, having been there, like he said, he's not joking about the 160 antenna. It takes forever to get 160 going. And during the contest, I was looking at the scoreboard just to see if V47T was making 160 Qs. And when I saw that they were, I knew everything was okay. I know that's a thing. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, at CQ9A, we had 12 ops officially, I think is what we counted. Very much a learning experience for all of us US guys. Those guys were there about a month ahead of time, putting up towers and putting up antennas and busting their butts. And it's kind of jungly there, and it's work. We did a little bit of it, just a little taste, but they were working their butts off for weeks straight. And we had 7 radios going all the time. And at one point we had 6 radios on 10 meters. And that was kind of a trip, but it worked beautifully. It was very impressive. And one thing I thought about is the V47T guys weren't that far behind us in Qs. And having operated there, Costa Rica, other places, I think the Caribbean's probably the best place for total QSO count, because man, they had 2 radios and we had 7, and they didn't miss the QSO count by much. So that was kind of not unexpected, but tells you how powerful it is from Zone 8 when you're in bulk.
So for the sake of the audience, so they don't have to look it up, these are the 3830 QSO counts. CQ9A had 12,707 QSOs, and V47T 11,067.
Yeah, so we were only 1,700 behind, but thanks for making it sound like it was close.
No, think about it. That's over the course of 48 hours. That's
QSOs per radio.
Yeah,
or QSOs per
radio,
person.
per op. Yeah, the in-band, the whole multi-single thing in Zone 33 was really freaking cool.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, mind-blowing. It was cool.
So why do you say that? What made it so miraculous or so incredible?
So I can take the run side of this. So
yeah, go ahead.
So for the run, we actually had 3 radios all listening on the same frequency, and we were forced to listen to separate antennas. So Radio 1, just in general, was listening to Europe. Radio 2 was listening to stateside. And Radio 3 was listening to the off direction, which was mostly South America, but we could have that tri-bander pointed in any direction. And we were all working together as one unit. Now, those 3 radios, the operators had the ability to actually transmit and work these guys if that's what it came to, and sometimes that's what it was. But we also worked in unison to try and limit the number of voices that were being heard on the radio, because sometimes it can get a little bit confusing for the guys that are listening when, okay, well, I'm working one guy, all of a sudden Chris is working the next guy, and then Bill jumps in for the third guy, so that we were trying to limit that as much as we could, but there was times where all 3 of us were actively working guys. And
so were you using the partner mode?
We did use partner mode, and that was actually very helpful to use partner mode, because we were learning the whole contest. It wasn't until the very end, the last shift that me and Chris shared together on that run radio, where we finally figured things out. Because one thing that when I was running, I was mostly on Radio 1, which was working a lot of the USA stations and whatnot. And so what we found out was the USA calls are generally shorter than European calls. And so for a while there, when I was running, I'd hear, maybe I'll hear someone like NU1D. I come back to him right away, and what happened there was I was cutting off the European call sign that Chris was copying, and so it wasn't quite as smooth. And so it didn't dawn on me until me and Chris had some conversation like Sunday morning, like, yeah, every time you work this USA guy, I can't hear the European guy because his call's longer. And so we made a switch and we made European calls the priority. And so I could have my call sign ready for USA, but I wasn't coming back to him because I wanted Chris to get a full call for Europe as well. There was many times where like me, Chris, and Bill were on the radio at the same time, and we each pulled out different call signs. So without any kind of QRZ, we had 3 full call signs, and it worked. It was amazing how that actually worked out.
So how did you know who was supposed to transmit next?
Aha.
That's the trick, isn't it?
It is the trick, yeah.
It is.
I
asked
mean,
the
each
question.
operator has to have an assignment. I'm going to call all the USA guys. Chris is going to call the European guys, and we have to have that agreement ahead of time. And I mean, there's more than one way to do this. Sometimes it's just more than one operator tries, and whoever gets the interlock happens to get the QSO. Even between the Europe, we sort of had things set up so that it was the USA, the USA guys and the European guys would sort of alternate shifts on these different parts of the station, and even between us, we had different sort of methodologies of achieving the same thing. And I'm not going to say which one was best. I mean, they both worked for the individual team, but a lot of I think the USA guys mostly worked together, and we sort of said, okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. The European guys, in a lot of cases, it was absolutely a race, and they had similar arrangements, but it wasn't quite the same way. We used the partner window extensively, and they barely used it. I mean, it was just interesting to watch.
Just for people who don't know, in DXLog partner mode, you can have a second station that's linked up to the primary one, and the guy in the second station, anything he types in his logging window appears in this little scratch pad looking thing over on the main radio. And so 2 guys working together, especially listening in different directions like you're describing, you can make a QSO with the guy you heard, and then you look at the little partner notepad, and there's another call sign. You just go straight to it, no waiting around or anything like that. And the operators don't have to talk to each other. They're just feeding things into the main station. And that's what I thought you were doing all weekend, but it sounds like really, since you were all listening in different directions, anybody could talk, but I'm still trying to figure out how you decide who has the priority.
It depends, right? One thing that we had going for us is, at least me and Dan and Bill have operated together several times. Those two with each other more than I have, but we just kind of got a rhythm going. If we had ground rules set, so if I'm working a European and I see on Dan's screen that he's got a guy queued up and he's got a call typed in, I know that I can call that guy. Dan doesn't have to tell me that. He doesn't have to put it in partner mode. I just know that because I know Dan. So I would work DL1 ABC, and then I would confirm that and immediately call, K5ZD, and hopefully K5ZD was savvy enough to just call me right back. But it was the same voice the whole time, so that really minimized the questions. Now, if Bill was on radio 3 and he typed in a ZS6 in the partner mode, that's going to be the priority because that's probably a mult, whatever. It's in an off direction. Dan and I can't hear it. Bill can hear it. Perhaps I call him, depending on the timing. Maybe Bill calls him. It was very situational. But we saw the rate meter with all the radios hit 800 once. And I've never, ever seen the rate meter at 800 in a multi-single. It was only for a brief moment, but we saw it.
And
it was
remember,
super
with
cool.
these 3 run-ops, there's still 2 to 3 in-band ops also fighting for the interlock at the same time. Now, I thought that this would be the worst thing in the world, but we had this little lamp that said, if it's locked or not, and we're just all staring at it, waiting to push the button. And I mean, and the system even protected you from doing things like you couldn't just hold the foot switch down and hope to get the interlock as soon as it was released. You actually had to push it down after the interlock was released. So there was, you really had to focus on the timing. It was very important that the run operator leave some time and not just try to go as fast as possible so that someone else could potentially get the interlock. Because I mean, they're probably calling a multiplier. You can't just hog the whole thing. So it's just very tricky to eventually get that rhythm going.
This whole strategy with having 5 to 6 run guys or 5 to 6 guys in the same band, it was very difficult. But it was something that we had to like adjust to. So I'm going to talk about the first hour real quickly because
Yes,
I finally
it was my favorite moment of the contest.
I know I finally met my match, because
Oh man,
usually I'm very Chris termed it cool, calm, and collected, right? And that's true. Give me any situation, I don't care. I'm gonna handle this, whether it be WRTC or CQ Worldwide. I don't care. Give it to me. I'll make it work, right? And so they gave me the honor of running for the first hour, which I was very happy about. Super stoked. And there was no plan for me to change after 1 hour. Okay, I was going to sit there for a while, do my thing, and we were going to run up a bunch of cues. And so that first hour, we're on 20 meters. Okay, and not only was I fighting with that interlock, but the frequency wasn't very good. We had a lot of QRM. And during that first hour, the other problem that we had was it was almost exclusively USA. So I had a lot of weight on my shoulders trying to make sure that we've got this run, going. And after about 45 minutes, I looked at Chris, like, Chris, I don't know if I can do this much longer. So at the top of the hour, we got to switch, man, because I was so stressed out that I had to get up. Yeah. So
we've never seen that happen before.
Ever. I know. So it was a lot. I calmed down after that, but it was so hard. It was so hard.
There was 3 of us. It was Dan and Levi and then me on the third radio. And the plan was we were going to rotate all the guys through each, hour to a couple hours, so we could all get runtime for the first 9 hours. And then Dan said, "Dude, I got to get up. I can't anymore." I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like,
I was about to have a nervous breakdown. I was sitting there like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do anymore."
We'll swap out now. Levi, you're up, man. Let's do this. Yeah. But Zone 33 was a match for Dan. So Valery, if you're watching, good job. You broke N6MJ in the first hour.
Well, I can sympathize because I started for us on V4, and you're right. You've got all this pressure. Like, I got to make QSOs, and everybody was still on 10 and 15 for us. So the first 15 minutes, I'm like, Andy, we got to find another band. Like, no, stay there. It worked out okay, but you're right. At the end of the first hour, I was like, wow, it's got to be somebody else's turn now. So I think it's important at this point. We have to remind people that we are talking about the multi-single category, and it's just a historical oddity that in the multi-single category, you have a run station and a multiplier station. They are completely independent. Once you change bands on the run, you have to stay there for 10 minutes. Same thing for the mult station. Once you make a cue on the mult station, you have to stay on that band for 10 minutes. But otherwise, they can transmit at the same time. They can change bands independently of each other and so on. So part of the strategy here is, of course, keeping track of all that. But that's why and then you throw in on top of it this idea that multi-single is defined by the fact there can only be one transmitted signal at a time. So now we've got 8 radios or umpteen number of radios that are all going at the same time, and they're all interlocked. And the goal is to just use the time as efficiently as possible. So there's always somebody transmitting and working somebody and interleaving all this together. And I think the real amazing thing is that you can build a station where the receiving capability is there that allows these in-band ops to hear people while the run guys are in almost continuous duty mode. So kudos for that. And there's a number of stations in the world that really have specialized in this. But it also takes a lot of, as we've just been discussing, a lot of operator fortitude to be one of those in-band guys and have to listen to crud the whole weekend and then take your, 5 seconds of glory to make a QSO.
Well, the in-band guys are really the unsung heroes, right? I mean, they were as aggressive as the run guys, even more so because guys aren't calling them; they got to go to them. But the skills these guys have honed over the years doing this is very impressive. They've got a system; they've worked well together. They've done it for years, kind of like Dan and Bill and I. And you got to get in and out of the pileup quick, otherwise your run guy can't run. So that was a total different skill in itself. And we didn't have a lot of problems with the interlocks. because guys knew that they had to get in and out quick. And if somebody was calling somebody that was slower and that light just stayed on, we all were just kind of like, oh my gosh, man, what are you doing? Come on. But that was pretty
We run a
rare.
lot of the same pileups, and the CQ9A guys were very good at hitting the spaces.
Nice.
They would try to tail end, or they would be in a gap in the pileup or something like that. But over and over again, we're chasing guys up the band, and the CQ9A guys were getting through more than their fair share.
So the other interesting thing just about the room layout was that the run guys and the in-band guys faced each other, but like we couldn't really see each other that easily. So like we could see the fellow run operators, but the in-band guys were just sort of across the way. And I mean, you could make a hand signal, but it wouldn't necessarily go noticed. So I mean, it was almost just pure aggression that had to be used to actually win that interlock.
One great thing about the Zone 16 operators is they like to yell a lot.
Yeah.
And so we, even though we couldn't see them and they were across the room, we could hear everything they were saying.
Oh yeah.
It actually helped out a little bit because being able to hear them, you could time things a little bit better. But
I mean, normally
they were loud.
Multi, but actually in this case it helped.
And one thing I want to point out real quickly is I think that the whole team aspect of this operation was super special. And one thing that I really liked about it was the fact that Valery really had a good idea of who was good at what. Just to give you an example, Valery never ran. Okay, would he have liked to run? I'm sure he would have, but he realized that, hey, I'm not the best runner, but I'm one of the best molt guys, and so he sat there on that molt radio almost the whole weekend. And then we had other guys that never ran at all, but they were, really important pieces of this team because they were doing what they were good at. They were on the molt radio, they were on the in-band radio, and nobody really complained about what their roles were. They understood, and the whole team came together and worked as one. And I think that Valery really, really was the architect behind this because he made all the decisions. And even when he was sleeping, he slept on an air mattress right next to the shack, so he could still be there. So people would yell at him, and what do we do now? Like any band change, anything that happened, Valery was in charge of. And I was really, really impressed with how that all worked out.
Yeah, and multi-single was new for us in Zone 33, and band changes. You screw the band changes up, and you're toast. And we had one kind of flub. We all kind of agreed the first night. It's just what it is, but it was very simple. When we change bands when the rate drops, and we go to a band where the rate's higher, and that was literally it. When it starts dropping, we go somewhere else. So the strategy was pretty simple, and without giving away secrets, there was a couple of things we did I thought were genius that we kind of all, me and Dan and Valery kind of talked about things off of the side a couple times about where to go and what when we weren't operating, and it was really cool because we didn't really know, but the logic was there, and it obviously worked out.
So just to be clear, Chris, Valery approved all band changes?
I think every single one.
I think everyone, but it was like, he'd be on the molt station and it was like, hey, Val, when do we go to 15? And we kind of talk about it for a second, and then we could see the rate drop, and he'd be like, all right, man, we going now? He's like, yeah, now's a good time. I'll be damned if every time wasn't just like very well timed. But 12 guys, somebody has to be in charge. Someone has to be the final decision.
Absolutely. And he'd even say like maybe in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or when the rate hits this, or he would give us criteria. So he didn't have to be there exactly at that time, but he would.
Right. But I was big on somebody has to be in charge. Otherwise, you got 12 guys that think we're doing it differently, and it's we've all been at multi-ops that do that, and it doesn't work. This worked beautifully.
Any reflections on the other operators that you met?
They were all really nice guys. I mean, in some cases they didn't all necessarily speak English, and sometimes we were using Google Translate. I mean, this was after and before the contest, so it wasn't easy. But they're just guys that love this ham radio stuff just as much as we do, and this is one of the very few hobbies where this unlikely group of people would be in a room, yelling at the radio and enjoying ourselves for 48 hours. And a lot of the same multi-op themes and a lot of the same thing. You could definitely recognize what was going on there if you've done this before, and we all kind of came there with left our egos at the door and operated the radio, and it was just very enjoyable. There were lots of little differences that in our approaches that were we grew to appreciate over the entire effort. And would I do this again? Absolutely, in a second.
Yeah, I think the friendships we made hopefully will last a lifetime. I mean, it was really something special for us. I guess I can speak for myself. It was really, really just the cultural differences and the exchanges and the camaraderie, and even with the language barrier, it was something really special. It was just fantastic.
One of the things I was struck by was the after party. I don't think I've seen photos of such a nice after party ever, like white tablecloth restaurant. What was that all about?
Well, it was Val's birthday during the contest, right before, and before the contest, he said, "Okay, everybody stays until Tuesday, so we can have a party on Monday night." And of course, you don't have to twist our arm to stay another day in Madeira for a party, right? And it was great. He was very generous, and we had a big party. And the wives were there. Some of his friends were there. The kids were there. It was really something just awesome.
So in every contest, there's a moment or a QSO or something that you remember. And since you guys were in a half around the world from where you normally are, what struck you? What was something truly memorable?
I have one, and I'll stop talking.
Other than Dan tapping out.
Yeah, that was.
I think we're all right. Remember that.
That was number one. You're right. That was number one. So I wasn't even the operator for these QSOs, but it's always fun to work friends and family and stuff like that. And we were there when we worked Corliss AL1G, and Alaska's not the easiest, right? But the coolest QSOs were with our buddy Dell NL7RT, and I think we worked him twice. And Dell is basically family. He's known me since I was born. He's in Alaska. He's got a long wire, 100 watts, and he got on the contest, and he worked us and a few other guys. He gets on like once a year to work wherever I am. But that was really special because, work in Alaska, longtime friend on two bands even. And then my buddy Ed in Colorado, who helped put our tower up in Shaman, got on the air for the contest, and he worked a bunch of guys, including us. I think he got us on 3-man. It's just cool to work your friends when you're somewhere rare. Not that we didn't work 12,000 friends, but close personal friends. Cool.
12,000 of our closest friends.
Right.
I think my favorite moment of the weekend wasn't necessarily a QSO that was on the air. It was after the contest. We're all kind of sitting around, and Valery's son is just talking around and talking about stuff. And you have to understand that these guys watch all these videos, all these Q5 videos. They watch them all. And Val's son does speak English quite well, and so all of a sudden he just sat down in a chair, and he's like, he starts imitating W1DED. He's like, this is Kevin Thomas, blah blah blah. It was like just like
Thomas. He had it.
He nailed it.
Yeah,
I had to get a video of it, and
he could have my job. Call me tomorrow.
he could do a stand-up double, man. Stunt double.
And so
for another host. So
there you go.
Val, so he's not tomorrow.
He's not a ham just yet, but he's trying to get his license in Echo Whiskey, and so his goal is to get the call sign Echo Whiskey 1 Delta Echo Delta. Which just I don't know. I just thought it was like the perfect moment. So anyway, that was great. Yes.
And Bill?
I mean, there are a lot of really interesting moments about this entire thing. There were several QSOs. So I spent a lot of time on the third radio listening just in just weird directions and stuff. And the amount of things that I heard that Chris and Dan didn't, it's always a good feeling. I mean, you sit next to these guys and normally they hear all kinds of things you don't. And it's like, humbling. But, on that third antenna, just listening on a strange direction, I was able to just pick out calls that just weren't there at all for him. And, and I'm very sure that they were accurate, and It was always good to say, no, that you work that guy. Come on. I think toward the end of the contest, we were all talking about moving to 40 meters, and and I thought, okay, we're going to move to 40 meters. So I turned the radio, tune the radio, and it just so happens that Levi across the way is moving a multiplier at the same exact time to 40 meters, and I hear the frequency that he's moving them to, and I tune up to it. And unfortunately, we hadn't quite decided that we were moving to 40 meters yet, and I'm sitting there losing my mind because I hear the guy calling loud as ever, and he's I think he was actually your Alaskan friend, Chris, if I remember correctly, and or no, it was a VK, and I mean we ended up getting him a couple minutes later, but my goodness, just the excitement and the adrenaline at the like, guys, we got to move now. He's calling. Anyway.
There was a lot of yelling. There was 7 guys on the radio, and 3 of us standing in the back knowing what's going on, and nobody else had a clue. It
was really intense at the end because we were chasing down that world record. Now our claim score is above the world record. Are we going to stay there? Who knows? We'll have to wait for lock checking. But I think one thing I want to call out that we haven't talked about is Levi. Because what Levi was doing for the last 3 hours, he was on an in-band radio, okay? But he wasn't calling guys to make contacts. He was calling guys to move them to a band that we needed. I think he even moved V47T in the last hour to 160. And I read a comment from Tom, 8P5A, and he said that somebody from CQ9A called him. He was probably on 20 meters, and he kept asking him to go to 160. And Tom's like, "No, I'm not going. It's not open." But Levi stuck with it, and he finally, after a few minutes of harassing Tom, he moved him. And sure enough, we worked AP5A, no problem. V47T in the last hour, no problem. We've been chasing those guys all weekend, but like Randy said earlier, the conditions were not very good on 80 and 160 for the first 2 nights. But at the end of the contest, they were finally starting to peak up a little bit. And I really have to, thank Levi for that role that he played. And I'm not even sure that some of the other guys realized what Levi was doing, but we know exactly what he was doing. And he must have got us, I don't know, between 5 and 10 molts at least from these moves. And it was super impressive.
40 minutes. I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andy said he was very persistent.
He was very persistent. I was listening to it.
Asking.
He didn't actually make a QSO for 3 hours, but he moved a whole bunch of guys, and they were yelling across the room, moving them.
Yeah, it was great.
That was pretty
awesome.
So there are a couple of things for me. Obviously, having your 40-meter beam just have an element fall off in the middle of the contest, that's pretty unusual. But there was one thing that really... The other thing was, this is the first time I've been to V4 where we were the only V4. There's almost always been somebody at one of the rental locations or something. It kind of bleeds off a little bit of activity. But this time we were it. If you wanted to work St. Kitts in this contest, you called us. And you could tell, you could just feel it. It's like there was a little bit of extra rate all the time. But the thing that I walked away from the contest really hopeful because we worked so many 2x3 calls. KQ4s, just all the, like they were licensing 4s faster than we could work them. It felt like there just was so many new calls and new guys, and a lot of guys, just the way that they called you and reacted to things, you could tell that POTA is having an impact because guys were thanking us for the activation, just little bitty tiny things like that. But it struck me as like, here's a whole new generation of hams that are coming in that are new, that they get it. They get the fact that you call the guy, you give the signal report, and you get out. It was just really, really made me feel good. Now, if we could get this to happen on CW, that'd be even better. But right now, it's great. We got some people hooked on phone, and that's worth a lot. I went to a local radio club meeting the other night, and one of the guys I mentioned I was in the contest. He goes, "Oh yeah, I got on and worked some res. I was so excited. I worked HD8R." So, these contests, there's a lot going on out there that we don't realize when we're just running guys like crazy. But there's 10,000 people and 10,000 entries and 10,000 stories for what people are trying to accomplish in the contest.
And Randy, what was the after party like for you guys?
Well, I got a toothache on the Monday that we got down there, so I was having trouble eating anything. And on Sunday, everything in St. Kitts is closed. So by the time we came down the hill, I think we ended up doing nothing. So our after party was actually the next day. We went to a restaurant that took forever. But no, nothing like the fine china and linens that you saw at CQ9A. But no complaint. And by the way, I have to do a call out for K4ZW. He was our third guy. He was the multiplier guy. He was amazing. He would just sit at this multiplier station, just beat his head against the wall. I think one of the real coups was he got S79 VU towards the end of the contest, just before the guy gave up in despair. But you need that in a multi-single. Somebody's got to sit there and just work on these multipliers because that's what the multiplier station is all about.
So I realize you guys might not want to think about CW right now, but I know you all have plans. So what's going on, Dan? What's next for you with CW?
Yeah, things are rolling along quite nicely now. You guys have probably seen Brazzo E77DX was on from Echo Fox 8 Radio, single op for phone, and that's the station I'm going to for CW. And so he did a ton of work there at the station, and when he left it, it was all working. Now, as I mentioned before on this program, I'm going to be going with Levi, and he's going to come with me. He's my fix-it guy. So we're hoping that I don't need him at all. But, if anything goes wrong, he's going to be there on my side to help me out. But Brazzo also was able to set a potential world record in the single op category, which is absolutely amazing. That record has stood for, 25 years, whatever it is. From when N5TJ was there in 1999, I think it was, if I remember right. And so he was able to beat that record. And so now it's up to me to try and do the same thing for CW. I've got a lot of pressure on my shoulders, but I'm doing lots of things to prepare. I've been doing a little bit of training, eating right, drinking a little bit less. So I feel like I'm on the right track now.
And Dan, do you still plan on 3 radios?
Yeah, that was a point of contention. I don't know if contention is the right word, but Brazzo really doesn't think that 3 radios is going to be useful there, and I don't think he's wrong per se. But there are going to be a few times where the rate's going to slow down enough where you can start tuning around on that 3rd radio. And honestly, going against Chris, I need to be at my full capacity 100% of the time. And even if I've only worked between 10 and 15 multipliers in that 3rd radio for the whole entire weekend, it's totally worth it because those are going to add up very quickly to the score. And I want to get the highest score that I can. That's the only way I can beat Chris.
And Chris, you must be feeling good about going back to CQ9A?
Yeah, I mean, the station is, it's amazing. It's incredible. It's the magic mountain of Madeira. So it's all proven. Valery's put so much effort into it, all of his guys. We know it all works. Randy talks about being the only V4 on. That's a big deal. Dan will be the only EA8 on, and there'll be a lot of CT3s on. So that dilutes the QSO pool and the for sure. But we will play our game as best we can and see what happens. I dare Dan to fall asleep on me.
He won't be the only EA8. There will be others.
He'll be the only serious EA8. He doesn't have a high power, really great op 12 guy multi-2 just down the road and a multi about 2 miles away. So
wow, excuses already, huh?
Oh, I got pages of them. How many do you want? I got tons of them.
Oh, wow.
And Chris, I presume Valery will be there with you. Anybody else?
Yeah, no, just Valery. We haven't really talked a whole lot about it. We're still coming down from the phone stuff, but we've talked about the setup and the station and stuff. So, yeah, I'm kind of understating my preparation, but it'll be fine.
And Randy, what about you?
I'll be operating from home from the new place. I'm happy to say CWSS was this past weekend, and all this work I put in this summer to get everything put together on the outside and all the antennas, and then got the inside stuff working last week, and it all worked great for CW sweepstakes. So I told my wife, I said, finally, all the pressure's off after 6 months of every day, like, what are we going to do to make the station better? It's like, okay, it's all working now. So I can relax a little bit, and get ready to grind away from W8, find out what I've really gotten myself into.
And Bill?
So I'm going to be going down to ZF1A, and we're going to do a multi-2, and we have Marty and a few other guys that are going to join us. And Marty just last weekend was able to try the station out on all the different bands. He did sort of a casual effort in Worldwide Phone, work trip over the weekend. So everything's working really well, and we're very excited.
Before we wrap up, anything else, guys?
I want to do one.
Of course, I have one thing.
Go for it, Chris.
Yeah, we're always busting the pilot. Anyway, so we kind of decided when we were in Madeira that this was kind of the first time that there was a truly international team at these big multi-singles with Americans as a team and Europeans. There's been one European here and one American there, but to truly bring together an international team like this, we think this was the first time. And it has its challenges with language and culture and stuff like that. But these guys were so welcoming and so friendly and just super cool to hang out with. We all watched and we learned a ton. Even Bill, I think it was the first hour we were there, his head just exploded and it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And
really neat. So impressed.
It was
None of
just
his own 16 secrets.
Yes. It's just the cultural experience was exactly what I love about ham radio, and these guys were just fantastic, and I would operate with them anytime. And Valery putting this team together was very special. I hope everyone could experience something like this. And it was me and Dan and Bill and Levi and Dave KM3T, and Valery said I want the best ops you can get from the U.S. and they were the short list. And everybody on the list only had to ask once. And it was one of my top contest memories of all time. So it was great.
Yeah,
Just missed that phone call.
And I share that.
Yeah, sorry, man.
But I do share that sentiment with Chris. Like that was definitely one of my top contesting experiences of all time. And I wanted to shout out two of the EU operators in particular. Because of what they meant to the team, even though they didn't make a lot of cues. My number one guy was Gina, Echo Uniform 4 Charlie Kilo.
My name is Gena. My Polsan Echo-94 Charlie Kilo. I'm from Belarus.
He was so instrumental in, first of all, getting the station ready. He's been there from the very beginning with Val, scouting out locations, putting up towers. And then during the contest, I think I saw that he made 10 contacts. He wasn't a huge Q guy, but he was the entire contest. He was the guy that was feeding us. It was 2:00 in the morning. We walk up and he's out there chopping wood. It's guys like that
Great.
if you don't have a guy like that, then this type of operation doesn't work. And so he was super, super important all the way across from the very beginning to the contest time. And without him, I don't think this would have worked. And the other guy I want to shout out real quickly before we go is Tony, Echo Whiskey 8 Alpha Delta X-Ray. You guys are going to hear more from him in the future. He's been doing some contests already from Echo Whiskey 5 Alpha. He's a sideband only guy right now. And he spent an entire month prior to the contest setting up towers, setting up antennas, doing all the grunt work. And if he wasn't there, the stuff would not have been working the way that it was. So I wanted to just shout out to him as well, just because he's another guy. He was more prolific as far as cues went, but I think his real value was prior to the contest, getting everything going. And I just want to make sure that was mentioned.
I just want to thank I'll thank Valery just one more time for inviting us in and sharing all, like I said, sharing his Zone 16 secrets with us Americans. I don't know that all the things that were going on there could be replicated outside of a DX location. Just the 7 radios and all of that, right? Honestly, but I was extremely impressed with how well the station was put together, how well it was technically executed, and I had some preconceived notions of how he was doing various things going in, and no, I was, this was a true masterclass, and I can just see how much energy and thought was put into a lot of these things, and I was very impressed.
Randy? Wouldn't be right if you didn't have the last word.
No, nothing to add.
Wow. Killing it.
Write that one down.
Well, thanks, guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed this recap. My name is Kevin, W1DED. This has been Q5 Ham Radio 73.
Charlie, Quebec 9 Alpha.
This is the mult station.
Charlie, Quebec 9 Alpha.
Can't see the frequencies here. It's the run, guys.
9 Alpha.
There's Dan. There's Bill. Let's go around here. This is the in band. These guys are on the same band as the main run guys. There's Bill and Dan.
I'm Valery from CQ9A.
My name is Tony, and the call sign Echo Whiskey DX from Belarus.
I'm Jim, Echo Whiskey Yankee from Belarus. I'm Rolly, LY4A from Lithuania.
Okay, hey, I'm Serge, Echo Uniform 1 Alpha from Belarus.
Hi, I'm Alex, 3 Zulu 1 November Yankee from Poland.
Hi, I'm Levi, K6JO from California.
Hey, I'm Dave, KM3T from New Hampshire.
Hey, I'm Bill, W9KKN from Illinois. I'm Dan, N6MJ from California.
I'm Chris, KL9A from Montana.